Now, like the idea that they were going to fight to overthrow that caste system, was something that was pretty inspirational. But if you kind of look at the world that we even have today, we sit there and we see, a lot of people like have no idea what's going on and really going on in other parts of the world. And sometimes we don't realize that we either have it lucky or maybe there's some things we have it bad on. You know, like just for example, our portion controls. Here in the United States, we eat an unhealthy amount of food. I met somebody from another country because I work with a global company, and they were shocked at how big the meals were in America. They're like, "Who eats this much food?" And I was like, "That's one of 3 meals," and they were shocked. And I think that that's just something like, while it may seem great, like there's an overabundance of food, right? It affects people's health. It preys on people. And we always try to look at this world through a lens of fairness. But one of my officers said this best, quoting a somewhat silly, I guess, movie that he had saw or book, where it said if you were to ground up the universe, how many specks of fairness would you find? How many pieces of justice dust? Right? The world isn't made out of fairness or justice dust, right? It's up to us to make that change and to care enough to be that positive influence. And I think that requires making sacrifices even. And kind of like that whole wiki motto. Isn't that right, Sam? I mean, Starscream. That was a pretty corny motto. But what we're getting at here is, to me, to be a Decepticon is to be a person who is trying to keep yourself informed, willing to fight for what you believe in, and sometimes willing to make mistakes, to risk to be the person to ask the question. Maybe it's the hard question, or maybe it's just the question that everyone had on their mind. How do we get to the next day, and how do we make it better? And why don't we try to wrap up this discussion, Starscream? I know this might be somewhat of a long one, so why don't you add in your final words on, like, if you were to break it down, what does being a Decepticon mean to you?
Being a Decepticon is about finding the means to stand up to corruption and the politically controlled media that deceives us every day into believing what they want us to believe. It is the means of creating your own individuality through the acceptance of your own independence and finding a means to a new beginning instead of a means to an end. It is the will in each of us to strive to become better, stronger, and more capable. We are all being deceived by those who are above us in society because to them, we are just worms crawling in their dirt. Being a Decepticon means rallying together and doing our best to create a world together where peace and justice reigns above all. It's a symbolism of who we are and what we are fighting against.
And to wrap this up on a final point that I think was pretty well said, Starscream, that in the comic All Hail Megatron, he says he built up an army of the best killers, the most ruthless people in the galaxy, so that he could achieve a peaceful galaxy, a peace through tyranny, right? And that motto was something that had changed. Supposedly, Megatron's original thing was freedom is the right of everybody, right? That was what he was saying when he was standing up. I don't know which continuity it was where Optimus said that Megatron was the one who taught him that early on when he was Orion Pax. But I end this video saying, what does the meaning of the extremism mean to you? Like, do you believe the Autobots were 100% correct? Do you believe the Decepticons were 100% correct? What's your take on just the whole idea of extremism? Because that's what Transformers is. A story of extremism wrapped around the struggle to control a planet's resources. And I think this is a very real struggle that we actually are seeing right now, with struggles over oil and politics and party lines and collapsing alliances. This is some very real stuff that people should be concerned about. So I ask you to not be afraid to take a side, especially if you live here in America. We are lucky enough to be able to voice our opinions freely, at least as far as we know. Next thing you know,
yeah, you never know. They could demonetize us.
Hashtag demonetized. Hashtag we're in prison now.
Yeah.
So
thank you guys for hearing our last words.
And yes, we hope that you are still subscribed when we get out from our life sentence. So have a good day. I hope that you guys have found some value in this video. This is just more of a discussion type video that you'll see more of. But we plan to do something like this once a week. So thank you all, and we will see you on the other side.
Thanks, guys.
Reroute all likes and subscribes to this YouTube channel.
But sir, what about the other YouTube?
Any further objections? Ram this video straight into the minds of our viewers.